The Trump administration could be taking its next step toward ramping up deportation efforts. Just a month after NBC News reported the administration is considering purchasing warehouses to use as, quote, mega detention centers, the Washington Post reports that ICE internal documents outline a plan to put one of these mega detention centers in Stafford County. News 4 reached out to the Department of Homeland Security to ask about the proposed plans. As of now, we have not heard back. While specifics are scarce, opinions are not.
Is that necessary? And is it morally, right? That's more so what I'm really concerned about.
I think it's a great thing. These detainees got to go somewhere. Why not here?
Happy to have them in Stafford?
Yeah.
The Post reports that ICE is planning to hold 80,000 immigrants in warehouses around the country to speed up deportations. Stafford County's Board of Supervisors tells News 4 it has not been contacted by the federal government about this project.
Can the county support that level of infrastructure right now?
No, not currently. And that's one of the bigger concerns with this potential detention facility with 5,000 to 10,000 detainees. That's going to require upgrades in infrastructure, and that is going to come at the cost of the taxpayer.
There isn't much the local government could do to stop a federal detention center if it wanted to. But Chairman Diggs says providing water, sewer, and other resources to a federal facility would come at the cost of local taxpayers.
You were elected as chairman to help lead this county. Is a facility like this the right direction for Stafford County, in your opinion?
I don't believe so at this time. I think it changes the character and the nature of Stafford. We have a lot of history in Stafford. We're a very diverse community. And, our constituents have been asking for things to do for the family, for kids, and this doesn't track with that direction.
News 4 reached out to several people at ICE and DHS, and so far we haven't heard back about this draft plan that could reshape a county that isn't asking for it.
ICE raids are going to move from Palm Beach to Fort Lauderdale here in Florida starting Tuesday, July 14th. Sheriff's Office and state troopers will continue to be deputized and arrest and hold people for ICE. However, the raids that we are seeing at places like Walmart's, Home Depot, plazas, the highways, they will move from Palm Beach to Broward County area.
ICE has reportedly issued a new nationwide dress code for officers conducting field operations following recent deadly incidents and criticism over how some arrests have been carried out. A memo signed by Acting ICE Director David Venturella requires officers to wear clearly identifiable ICE clothing and visible badges during arrests. The guidance also calls for ballistic vests during high-visibility operations and prohibits items like hoodies, jeans, sweatshirts, and graphic t-shirts while on field operations. The reported policy comes after a viral arrest attempt at the Las Vegas airport where plainclothes officers wearing hooded sweatshirts tried to detain a man before abandoning their arrest as bystanders gathered. The man was arrested the following day in Los Angeles. The Department of Homeland Security said officers ended the initial arrest attempt because a crowd surrounded them, citing officer safety. The updated guidance also follows recent fatal encounters involving ICE officers that have intensified calls for greater transparency during immigration enforcement. Advocates and some lawmakers have argued that officers should be more easily identifiable during arrests, while some ICE officials told news sources the policy could signal a broader shift toward more standardized uniforms in the future. ICE has not publicly announced whether the dress code represents a permanent change in agency policy.
From here? What's here? What country? Was you born here? Was you born here, ma'am? What country was you born in?
Randy, they're in our yard.
¿Tú sabes cuál país eres, señor? ¿Tú eres ciudadano americano?
Soy agente federal de los Estados Unidos.
Somos agentes federales, señor, aquí para encontrar las leyes de inmigración.
Good morning.
Señor. Señor.
No, podemos hablar con... Yeah.
Get the hell out of my yard, you assholes. Yeah, just go home.
Como what, please? Yeah, graba. Graba. Okay, I gotta go.
We'll take care of you go. Thank you. Good luck. We need to follow him. I'll follow him.
No?
To somewhere.
I guess we know what transpired. I guess that was all in Spanish.
All in Spanish. They just drove up, opened the door. I knew we were done.
ICE raids across America. Why are they increasing and who is being targeted? Across America, fear is spreading through immigrant communities. ICE operations are making headlines. Video of arrests are appearing across social media, and families are asking one urgent question: who could be next, or who could be targeted next? Welcome back to the Freedom Room, where we explore the biggest stories shaping America through politics, history, and the society. Immigration enforcement has once again become one of the most controversial issues in the country. For some Americans, increased ICE operations represent stronger enforcement and the government finally taking immigration laws seriously. For others, the raids raise concern about family separation, due processes, and the fear spreading through communities. But what exactly is happening, and why are these operations receiving so much attention? Immigration and Customs Enforcement, commonly known as ICE, was created in 2003 following the September 11 attack as part of a broader effort to strengthen national security and enforce immigration laws. Since then, enforcement parties or priorities have changed from one administration to another. Some focus heavily on people convicted of serious crimes, while others expand enforcement to include a broader range of immigration violations. Today, ICE operations are once again at the center of America's immigration debate. Recent enforcement efforts have focused on people with final removal orders, individuals accused of violating immigration laws, and in some cases, people facing criminal allegations. But the impact often extends far beyond personal or persons being arrested. Families worries about loved ones, workers fear going to their jobs, children may wonder whether a parent will return home, and entire communities can begin living with uncertainty. Supporters say the government has a responsibility to enforce immigration laws. Critics argue that aggressive enforcement can create fear. Stay tuned. Let's continue to watch more opinions, and we'll come back for more commentary. This is the Freedom Room. Subscribe to this channel.
Hey everybody, it is May 4th, and this is just a quick note to say that ICE seems to be targeting smaller towns throughout Utah. We know in the past a week and a half they have been in Park City, Heber, Francis, Camas, Logan, Ogden, St. George, other places in Washington County, and we believe they're in Moab, and a while ago they were in Delta. If you find yourself in a small town, I just want you to know that ICE is most active at 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on weekdays. And that's probably what you'll continue to see. That doesn't mean they aren't active in other times, but that's when they're most active. And also, to all the people who may see ICE and wonder if the person that ICE is targeting has done something wrong, I want to make sure you know ICE does not deal with criminals. ICE is not an agency that deals with criminals at all. If you see someone being detained by ICE, they're not a criminal. They most likely were going to work in the morning to support their family. If it was a criminal matter, you would see police there, you would see SWAT team there, you would see the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency, and then they would call ICE. That is why we don't need ICE at all in our communities, because we already have police forces that deal with criminals. and they already have the capability of turning them over to immigration and customs enforcement. We do not need ICE in our communities. All they are doing is destroying families. If you see them, please film them. Please tell them they're not welcome in these communities, especially in the small towns. And if you are in a small town in Utah, just know there's a lot of people who care and think this is a bunch of bullshit that this is happening to you. Take care. Lots of love.
What happens if you're in the car, if you're driving, let's go into the car, and you're pulled over? You're either a passenger in the car or you're the driver. What should you do? Well, first of all, if you're the driver, don't take off. Don't do that. Just safely pull over immediately. Don't even try to resist. Turn your car off, turn the engine off, turn on the internal light in your car so that they could see you and see everything that's happening inside your car, particularly if it's at night. You don't want to give the appearance that you're up to something or you have a weapon or something, because you could lose your life easily, just like that. Now, you turn on that internal light and you roll down that window and you appear cooperative. If it's police and they're asking you for a driver's license, you're going to have to present your driver's license, your registration, and proof of insurance. If you do not have any of these documents, do not give them anything false. You're going to be hearing that so frequently in this one. Don't give false documents, because what happens is it makes your immigration lawyer's job even harder to defend you if you go ahead and you claim to be a U.S. citizen or you present that false Social Security card or false green card. Just don't give them any false documents. The next thing that you should not do is do not give them permission to search your car. Although you're appearing like you're cooperating, and you should cooperate with law enforcement, do not resist law enforcement, guys. You're going to cooperate, but you don't have to say, yes, go search my trunk. Yes, come on in and look through my glove compartment. You don't have to say yes to any of those activities. And if they begin to just start searching your car, just say, no, I don't consent to this. No, I don't agree with what you're doing. No, just say no. Get it on the record, but certainly do not resist. They may ask you questions about your immigration status while you're in your car. Again, you do not have to answer any questions about whether you have a green card or not. If it's the police that is trying to apprehend you, you could certainly ask for their name and their badge number, and you could write that information down. But again, be very careful about your movements in the car.
Native American was just arrested and ICE tried to deport her. What? That's right, Leticia Jacobo is a 24-year-old and was born in Phoenix. She is also a Native American who is a member of Arizona's Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community. When this 24-year-old's mother, Erica Burns, went to the jail to pick up her daughter after she was arrested for allegedly driving with a suspended license, the jail told her no, they were unable to release her because ICE was on the way. This was understandably shocking news, and Erica didn't know what to say. Why was ICE coming to pick up her daughter? To deport her. A Native American, who she asked the Polk County Jail, how can they be deporting my 24-year-old daughter whenever she is a Native American? Polk County's response was, we aren't deporting her, we're just holding her because ICE is coming to pick her up. This mother, being very aware of what ICE coming to pick up her daughter meant, and her daughter not having a country they could possibly deport her to because her ancestors have been in the United States for thousands of years, started making phone calls. Her entire family went into overdrive. They started calling officials. They even showed up with her birth certificate to prove that she was a legal citizen in the United States and proof that she is a Native American. Even with all of this information, there was no immediate release. In fact, ICE did show up, and tribal members, tribal officials were even speaking out demanding her release, and it still took them until 4 o'clock the next morning for them to finally release her. What was ICE's response when tribal communities demanded an apology from them? They did not apologize. They simply said that it was a clerical error. Lieutenant Mark Chance from Polk County Sheriff's Office has simply brushed this whole thing off, saying that it was a human error. That the detainer placed on the 24-year-old Native American was simply meant for someone else at the jail. Also shared in his statement that we will be having some meetings about this. This is silly. But the Native American community and the rest of the country are saying this is far from silly. Someone who was not only born and raised in America, but is a Native American herself, who was also faced with deportation, what people are assuming is because of the color of her skin.
The phrase ICE raid can create the impression that every immigrant is at risk. But immigration enforcement is more complicated than that. ICE operation can involve people with final removal orders, certain immigration violations, and individuals who may have criminal histories or unresolved legal cases. However, every case is different. Some people may have pending immigration proceedings, others may have legal protection or claims that must be considered. That is why immigration enforcement can quickly become a legal and a political battle. Supporters of tougher enforcement argue that a country cannot have immigration laws without enforcing them. They believe stronger action can discourage unauthorized immigrations, protect national security, and restore confidence in the immigration system. Critics, however, warn that aggressive operations can affect people who have lived in America for years and may have families, jobs, and deep connections with their communities. The debate also reaches the American economy. Industries such as agriculture, construction, hospitality, food processing, and other sectors depend heavily on immigrant workers. Business owners warn that large-scale enforcement could create a labor shortage, slow operations, and increase costs. Supporters of enforcement responded that businesses should follow the law and that stronger enforcement could encourage employers to hire American workers and improve wages. This creates a difficult question. Can America enforce immigration laws without creating economic disruption? The courts may also play a major role. Immigration policies and enforcement actions can face legal challenges from individuals, organizations, states, and other groups. Judges may be asked to determine whether certain actions follow existing laws and constitutional protections. But the story does not end here. Can America secure its borders, enforce its laws, and still protect due processes and families? Let's continue to watch people's reaction or various reactions. Let's stay tuned. This is the Freedom Room. Continue watching.
2 deaths, 6 days, and now ICE has suspended vehicle stops nationwide. So nobody should be stopped in a vehicle. It's a direct follow-up to the shootings I've been talking about for the last few days. First, ICE killed Lorenzo Salgado Arujo during a vehicle stop in Houston. 6 days later, ICE killed John Sebastian Guerrero during another vehicle stop in Bidford, Maine. Neither man was the person ICE was looking for. Now, according to multiple reports throughout the news, agents have been ordered to suspend most vehicle stops immediately, except when pursuing a serious criminal target. What's a serious criminal target? Who knows? The suspension will reportedly remain in place while agents receive additional training on how to conduct these stops. And by the way, not for nothing, but I've been saying they needed more training forever. I even just told you last week that New York requires 1,000 hours of training to become a cosmetologist, while ICE's Accelerated Deportation Officer Academy is 42 days of training, a little over 300 hours. You get a badge, a gun, and you get to arrest people. But here's the obvious question. If ICE officers need additional training before these stops can safely continue, why were they even doing this in the first place? What was all of this about expedited training? After the first man was killed, the stops continued. It was only after a second man was killed in 6 days, they say, maybe we need some more training. And the most horrible part about this is that neither man was the target of an ICE operation. So is temporarily suspending vehicle stops enough, or do we need independent investigations? Some form of public accountability to the lack of training and to at least 2 people dead in the last week, and allegedly 20 people dead by ICE shootings since January 2026. Tell me what you think in the comments.
You need to stop and listen to what is happening in the U.S. right now as a result of Donald Trump's executive orders. There are ICE raids that are targeting Native Americans. Native Americans. They are currently being detained and questioned, and they are American citizens. This is not going to stop. The racism in this country has been unleashed at an unprecedented level, and many people are going to pay the price. This is truly dangerous right now. Please know your rights. Please share information with vulnerable people. And as always, please go ahead and follow me on all of my other platforms in case this app gets banned again. The link is in my bio. I am devastated for everybody this is affecting currently.
So ICE is detaining Native Americans now. Not immigrants, not undocumented individuals. Native Americans! People who are quite literally indigenous to this continent. So I guess my question here is, where the fuck do you intend on sending Native Americans? Hi everyone, if you're new, welcome. If you're not, you know what fucking time it is, bitch. It's time for the Daily Scream. As far as I checked, Native Americans are already home. This week in Minneapolis, ICE violently detained Jose Roberto Ramirez, who is not only a US citizen, but a Red Lake Nation descendant. They beat him, mocked him, ignored him when he said that he was Native, and they then held him for 6 hours without any charges. 4 members of the Ogallala Sioux tribe were taken off the street while homeless. No explanation, no paperwork, no idea where they were being held. Native people were stopped outside of coffee shops, they were pulled from their cars, dragged out of housing communities, all during what our government is calling the largest immigration raid ever. Native Americans are citizens by law, treaty, and history. They were here before the Constitution, they were here before ICE, and they were here before this fucked up government even existed. And now they're being told to prove that they belong here. If you have to carry papers to exist safely in your homeland, that's not law enforcement, that is straight up state violence. And Minnesota officials are calling this exactly what it is: lawless, racist, and dangerous. ICE isn't making any community safer. In fact, they're making them less safe. They're traumatizing families, they're escalating and starting needless violence. So let me be crystal fucking clear here. If indigenous people aren't safe from ICE, nobody is.
It's July 2nd, 2026, a couple of days away from the 4th of July, and we are seeing a surge in ICE arrests. We are talking about over 10,000 arrests in the past 5 days. We are seeing a surge specifically here in South Florida as well. So Palm Beach County, Broward, Miami-Dade, Central Florida as well. We are seeing ICE presence in locations where there are likely to be undocumented individuals at. So please spread the word. Do not take any unnecessary risks.
You might have heard that ICE is planning on doing a major blitz here in the New York City area. Here's what I really think you need to focus on: knowing your rights. You still have the right to remain silent if they stop you on the street or find you in a public place. You do not have to answer questions about your citizenship status, where you're from, how you came to America. You don't have to answer those questions, friends. You also have a right to ask for a judicial warrant. If you're at home and they show up at your door, you have a right not to open the door, and you can ask them to present a judicial warrant to you through the window or under your door. Most times they will not have a judicial warrant. So keep these rights in mind. Certainly, they're detaining individuals, and now the intent is to detain folks indefinitely without a bond. And so your family member, I should say, should be prepared to work with an immigration attorney in the event you're arrested, so that attorney can get to work fast on your behalf, because the conditions that we're seeing, friends, in these detention centers and now at these camps are absolutely awful.
Federal agents were told the FBI will no longer be investigating any confrontations involving ICE agents. It's literally the FBI's job to do so. It's part of the FBI's job to investigate criminal investigations involving federal agents. Now there will be even less oversight of what these ICE agents are doing. You know, although the FBI was caught withholding evidence from state and local authorities previously, now it seems it will be up to the local and state authorities to investigate any criminal matters involving ICE agents. Why? Because apparently DHS is going to take over those investigations that the FBI would have. DHS essentially is going to be investigating themselves, their own agents. How far do you think those investigations will go? Now, the New York Times is who first reported on this, citing people familiar with the matter. And in fact, it was Thursday when the FBI managers received this report with this policy change. ICE agents were also informed of this policy change on Thursday. Now, the DOJ and DHS is denying this. They put out a joint statement denying this policy change. So we'll see what actually occurs with this, but at some point, accountability is going to occur. Mark my words.
ICE raids.
I'm seeing another person get shot.
Do you know what you would do if ICE officers come to your place of employment? First, if you're the employer, you say, I am the employer. You cannot go to any area without my permission. This is a private workplace. If ICE continues to try to enter into your workplace, you say this, do you have a judicial warrant? Because if not, you are violating my rights. Encourage your staff, if they don't have a judicial warrant, to take videos of them violating your rights. If ICE tries to ask your employees questions, they don't have to answer. They can keep quiet. After ICE leaves, write down everything that happens. Your memory is short. Your employees should not panic. If they feel threatened, they can try to calmly leave without running away. And as long as nobody stops them, let them walk out the door. If they're stopped, they have the right to remain silent as well. If they are asked to stand in a group by immigration status, they should just stand randomly. They don't have to show any identification documentation. And all they should say is, I want to speak to my lawyer. Do you know what you would do if ICE officers come to your place of employment? First, if you're the employer, you say, I am the employer. You cannot go to any area without my permission. This is a private workplace. If ICE continues to try to enter into your workplace, you say this, do you have a judicial warrant? Because if not, you are violating my rights. Encourage your staff, if they don't have a judicial warrant, to take videos of them violating your rights.
I'm a supporter of body cameras. I know that body cameras exonerate officers almost 90% of the time. I want the American people to see what that ICE agent sees. You can have cell phone cameras from across the street or cameras from the side or city cameras. I want the American people to see what that ICE officer sees when he takes action. And I think it's going to help ICE with the false media that's out there about him.
Is this administration more concerned about the number, the quantity of ICE administration instead of deploys over the quality?
I can't speak for everybody in the administration, but quality agents are very important. So it should be all you won't give somebody a badge and gun, they need to be the best they can be.
So are there going to be reevaluations on the hiring?
That's a question for ICE.
Is there any other procedure or protocol on the ground changing? Stops?
There's already, the director of ICE decided that, there needs to be at least one body camera on the scene. And again, I'm a big supporter of the body cameras. And as more body camera kits out there, they all have them.
That's the only change.
But let's be clear, you can attack the men and women at ICE all you want. It comes down to one simple fact. These people fail to comply with law enforcement. Even some of the major chiefs in this country who don't necessarily agree with this administration says you always comply with law enforcement. But the hateful rhetoric that ICE isn't a real law enforcement agency. I see these signs that resist. ICE are let's abolish them, they're fascists. When you keep that hateful rhetoric up for a year and a half, there's going to be that percentage of that left population that it's going to be emboldened to take action because they're not a real law enforcement agency. I should resist them. All they had to do is simply comply with law enforcement. If you don't like what law enforcement did to you, then go to the courts, sue, call the ACLU, do whatever you want to do. But you should always comply with law enforcement. If they did, they'd be alive today. Now, I'm not going to comment on the investigation itself. We'll wait for it to play out. This is about complying with law enforcement, and a lot of the negative, hateful. And I said this a year ago. If a hateful rhetoric doesn't stop, there will be bloodshed. And unfortunately, I was right. And I'll tell you something else. It's not over yet.
Trump just quietly ordered ICE to detain over 10,000 people in just 5 days, while the world was distracted watching the World Cup. No press conference, just internal orders to hit 2,000 arrests a day. That's roughly double what agents were doing weeks ago. One single day saw over 2,400 people detained. The total population in ICE facilities jumped nearly 4,000 to more than 63,000 people. Remember why this operation went quiet in the first place. Between September and February, agents shot at least 14 people. 2 were American citizens killed in Minneapolis. Renee Nicole Good, a mother. Alex Preddy, a VA nurse, thrown down and shot at a protest. That disgusting tragedy led to a lot of resignations. So instead of real accountability, they brought back the operation, minus the press coverage. Same aggressive tactics, just quieter. Real people are already caught in it. A Nigerian nun and nurse in South Texas was arrested on her way to church, released only after officials intervened. In Utah, a man who overstayed his visa was picked up driving over the weekend. Lawyers say people are now afraid to leave their homes, even for groceries. This is a quota-driven sweep, terrifying communities, timed to avoid scrutiny.
The debate over ICE raid is about more than arrest. It is about what kind of immigration system Americans want. Supporters of stronger enforcement believe the government must protect the borders and enforce the laws. They argue that without consequences, immigration rules loses their meaning. Critics believe enforcement could be balanced with due processes and consideration for families and communities. They warn that aggressive raids can create fear, disruption far beyond the people directly targeted, and the economic consequences could also be significant. If large number of workers disappear, industries that already face labor shortages, businesses could struggle to find replacement, consumers could potentially feel the impact through high prices and reduced savings. The supporters argue that the long-term solution is not to depend on unauthorized labor. They believe stronger enforcement could encourage legal hiring and create greater respect for immigration laws. The future of immigration enforcement will likely be reshaped by political decisions, government policies or priorities, congressional actions, and court balance or court battles. The central question facing America is not simply whether ICE should enforce immigration laws. The deeper question is, how should these laws be enforced? Can the country strengthen border security while protecting due process? Can immigration laws be enforced without unnecessarily separating families? Can America protect national security while maintaining a stronger economy? These questions have no simple answers, but one thing is clear: the immigration debate is far from over. The decision made today would affect millions of immigrants, families, workers, businesses, and communities across the United States. So, what do you think? Should immigration enforcement become even stricter, or should Congress focus on border immigration reforms? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Like, subscribe, and turn the notification button on. See you in the next video. This is the Freedom Room. Thank you for watching.